Welcome to the Dragon Slayer podcast by East Idaho Credit Union. I am Steven. With me, as always, is Bailey, and today's guest, Jeremy Carlson from Crispy Cones.
Yes.
Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you here. Okay, I want to jump right in.
Okay.
Tell me about Shark Tank. You went on Shark Tank. You did really well.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that experience. Start from like when you just applied to be on it.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we were watching Tristan Ikaika on Shark Tank the season before. He's out of Utah, and we're like, why can't we do this? Like, let's just apply. So we applied in January of last year, and it was like 3 questions on their website. We answered those 3 questions.
That's it?
That's
just
it.
3.
Yeah.
And what are the questions? Do you remember?
I can't remember. I think it was like lifetime sales, lifetime of the business, how long you guys been in business.
Do they even ask about like what your product is or anything like that?
I think they had you like submit 3 pictures or something. Can't remember quite. And then in February, this was when I was at Utah State University, the Huntsman School of Business. We had moved back to Idaho to grow the business, and we got a call. And it was from California, and I usually don't answer those calls because I'm like, oh, they're spam or something, you know. But I answered it. Kate's like, answer it. I answered it, and it was the casting crew at Shark Tank. And they're like, hey, we really like your product. We really like you guys. We've done some, like,
so did they go and research you then after
I think so, yeah.
Interesting.
I think
they like Facebook stalk you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so I was like shaking like, oh, yeah, we're still interested. And they asked some more questions, and they're like, okay, well, we want to push you forward. And then they pushed us forward to the producers. They assigned us producers. And then from there, the executive producers. And so it went from 80,000 applications, I believe, to they picked 164 businesses to pitch.
Wow.
So the likelihood of getting on the show and then the likelihood of even airing is like extremely small.
Wow.
Extremely small. Yeah. Yeah. We didn't think this was like, we had other friends apply and they didn't even hear back. But we just got lucky.
Like your other friends where you're like, yeah, their business is way better.
Oh, they were
mine.
like 10x us. And they were much bigger than us. And they chose us. I have no idea. I don't know what it was exactly, but
did they never tell you like, we like you because whatever? Did they never tell you that?
They said we were exciting and fun TV.
Oh, geez, what does that mean?
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, but it was good. Like through the whole process, we filmed in September of last year. So literally January to September, it was preparing with the producers, getting to know them. And then they would always be like, now we can't guarantee you'll be on the show, but let's prepare as if you are. And it was like that until the day we flew out to
kidding.
LA. Yeah.
So how nervous are you through this whole, like when you first get the call?
Yeah.
Like, where are you at, like, emotionally here? Are you just, like, beside yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Or are you just like, yeah, it's not really real? Or
No, I just was like, it was like an out-of-body experience. That's how I'll explain it. Like, the producers are talking to you about what you're going to say to Mark Cuban. I mean, who prepares you to talk to Mark Cuban? You know what I mean? Like, he's like this reality star, this, like, basketball owner. And so, he's just a great, like, billionaire. And then they prepare you on, like, possible questions they'll ask you and things like that. But you just practice with the producers, get ready for the show. They fly you out, and it happens so fast.
So when you practice with like you act like it's your actual pitch, and your producer is like pretending to be Mark Cuban.
Well, not exactly that, but they more so practice the 30-second pitch when you go into the tank.
So I do notice that when I watch that show, all the pitches have a similar kind of cadence and feel to them. How much of that is coached and how much of that is just like you came up with it?
So they reached out to us first and they said, create a pitch you think is good. We created it. They edited it. They changed some things.
How much
they
were they just like, oh, that was terrible? And they
so,
changed it.
like 40% of that pitch they took out.
Yeah.
And they said, do this instead. They'll like this more. And so they changed it. And then that is all like memorized. That 30-second pitch when you first go into the tank is all memorized. You practice that over and over again.
Yeah. And that's clear when you see people do it. Yeah. It's almost, you can tell that they've practiced it like too many times.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I mean when we say we practice with the producers is that pitch. They don't really prepare you on like what could happen in the tank because they want it to be a shock for you, I think. They want it to be good TV,
Yeah,
you know?
they want you to kind of flounder just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's good TV, right?
It's good TV.
And so, but we prepared with the producers. When we flew to LA, they flew us out. It was so fast. They pick us up in a van. They take us to our hotel. They say, be ready at 7 a.m. We get ready at 7 a.m. They take us to Sony Studios. And then it's just like bam, 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 bam. Like we had to create the product. We had to get ready. Like they were hyping us up. They're like, all right, let's get ready to go. Like, are you guys excited? Like makeup, like all this stuff.
So
right?
what do they do to like hype you up? Like, are they giving you like a lot of caffeine or something else?
I mean, there is food on the set, but I mean, they're just getting us excited.
Yeah. So what did they say to you? You're magnificent, you son of a gun. Like, what do they say?
They are. You know, the producers are like hyping this whole thing up, you know, and so they're telling you like, do jumping jacks, like get ready, like get the blood flowing, you know, and we do. But yeah, I mean, it was right before the doors were about to open. They were like touching up our makeup, and they're like, okay, like practice your pitch one more time, practice your pitch. And we did, and we're getting all excited. And they're like, any second now, we're going to open up these doors. When we open up these doors, you're going to walk down this hallway and you're going to see the sharks and you're going to pitch. And it's game time at that. They said it could be an hour to 3 hours. They don't know how long it could be in there.
That you're actually in the room with the sharks?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Like we were in there for 48 minutes. That's what they told us when we got out. And it felt like 10.
Wow.
We were in there for 48 minutes. So what people see on the show is like a 12-minute, 10-minute edit where they just like cut a ton of stuff.
Wow, that's so crazy. I didn't realize that you were in for that long. Because, yeah, they show the 30-second pitch and then like a few exciting questions and then you're done. And that's it.
Yeah, you either get it done or you don't, and then you're done. But you're in there for a long time.
So do you remember your pitch at all?
You know, I probably don't ask me to do it right now. I get nervous.
We are not going a moment longer in this podcast unless you do that pitch.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just,
gosh.
I'm just
I'm
kidding.
trauma. No, I'm just kidding. I'm already getting nervous.
I'm just kidding. No, that's okay. Okay, so what does walking down that hall feel like?
Yeah.
Are you just like, are you floating through the hall? Are you more scared than you've ever been? Like, what are you feeling when that happens?
You know, I'll tell you this. Right before we walked down, we were right in front of the doors, and we were all mic'd up. Producer said, any second we're opening these doors, get ready. And I looked at Kate, and I was like, Kate, I think I forgot my pitch. And she's like, oh my gosh. And she starts to say a prayer, like just right there. And as soon as she says amen, the doors open.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not even kidding. And they open, and we walk down, and it was like this out of body experience. Like all of a sudden you walk down, and then they open up the bigger doors, and then you see the first person you see is Kevin O'Leary. He's in the middle, right? And then
That's
you see
who it
Lori.
was. I'm sorry to interrupt. We were
Mr.
like,
Wonderful.
what is Mr. Wonderful's real name?
Kevin O'Leary, yeah.
Kevin O'Leary. I was like, I think is it Ed Sheeran? I don't think that's it. What is his name? What is his name?
Definitely not a redhead, no. No. But you would just walk down. It's this out of body experience. I mean, you stand there for 30 seconds and you don't say anything to each other. Probably a minute. It's B-roll, right? You're standing there, they're looking at you, you're looking at them, the cameras are getting B-roll footage.
Okay, so the cameras are just getting B-roll of you standing there.
Yep, and you're looking at them. It's awkward.
that's
I
hard.
bet that feels so weird. Nobody's saying anything.
No one's saying anything.
They're just staring at
looking
you.
Yeah.
You're staring back at
Yeah.
them.
And Kate and I knew we wanted, like the whole time, we wanted Barbara Corcoran. Like,
Okay, so how did you know that going in?
well,
Like,
we
what
had
was
done our
it?
research, and she is a phenomenal franchise expert, and she has a portfolio company of franchises, and some of the other sharks did not. And we just thought she was the more genuine human as well. And so we were targeting her. So as soon as we were in there, we were looking at her. Like we were trying to create this connection with her immediately.
So do the producers coach you on like, hey, maybe figure out who you want before you show up, or was
Well,
that
they
just
ask
all
you.
you?
Yeah, they're like, who would you prefer to? And we said we'd like to work with like Barbara Corcoran, you know, but they don't talk to them about our business at all. Like Barbara Corcoran, the first time she saw Crispy Guns was when we walked in the tank, and she had no idea who we were, no idea. Like they don't know anything. So
Interesting. Okay. So it seems so weird. So you walk in, they're all staring at you.
That's how they get that serious take.
Well,
when,
and
like,
and
the
I'm
anticipation, you know?
yeah, I'm playing through it in my head, and I'm like, yeah, they do
Yeah,
that, and I
yeah.
always thought when I watched that has to be the weirdest thing to film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they say go, or how does that?
Yeah, then they say begin, and then you start your pitch. You give it your all, which I remembered, by the way.
Oh, let's hear it.
No, I'm not doing it now. But on the pitch, on the set, I remembered, and we gave it our all. It was awesome. They loved it. And then after that, we just went in, and it was just like questions, like boom, 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 boom. Questions.
So did they catch you off guard with any of the questions, or like what were the hardest ones to answer?
The hardest questions to answer. Mark Cuban was pretty hardcore. And I think he was really interested at the beginning. And that's why he was so hardcore with the questions. He really wanted the numbers, the lifetime, and like the process, the business, like how it's working. And the only thing that he struggled with was the youth of the business. And I think the youth of us too. And so that's why he went out first. But one thing that we really wanted out of the tank was we wanted them all to like endorse the product. You know, we wanted them to be like, this product's awesome, and not like slander it on national television, you know, because we're like, how could we ever recover from this if like Kevin O'Leary says this product sucks,
This is
you
the
know?
worst thing I've ever had.
Yeah. But every single one of them said they loved the product.
So do you go back and use those clips in your social media
We have,
of Mark Cuban being like, this is great,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So Mark is pretty tough. Then he goes out. What about the rest of them?
They're all very kind. Like you see a lot on TV and how they like.
It feels super mean on TV, but it's not.
Well, I think for some people it is.
Okay.
I do, just from what I've seen. And I do think that some people go in there not as prepared, you know, and they might lie about some things. Yeah. And they don't love that. One thing me and Kate always said to each other is like, we're going to be completely transparent about everything, like our losses, our wins, everything. And they could feel that, I think. And Barbara Corcoran, she could tell like immediately. I think she had made her decision that she was going to invest early on because she just, that feeling that we had with her.
When the Sharks go out, how does that feel? Like, what is that experience like to have them say, I'm out?
You watched the episode, right?
Uh-huh.
So they all went out, and then Barbara Corcoran was the last one standing. And it was painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could tell there
to the heart a little
yeah,
bit.
you could tell there were like tears in my eyes a little bit. They zoomed up on my eyes a lot, but
I wasn't going to mention that.
yeah, it is like an emotional roller coaster. You know, you're fighting for your brand. You're fighting for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And you've put in so much work into your brand, and you're like, just trust me, this is going to hit the moon. Like, and you only have 45 minutes to explain this to them, you know?
Right.
And so at the end, I just was like, in my mind, I went into complete sales mode. I was fighting for it. I was like, Barbara Corcoran, these are the things of like how you're going to make your money back, and why we're different, why we're unique, why we're awesome, why we're keeping this hype going. And I could just tell she loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell also that she loved that she was the last one standing because she had leverage. You know, she didn't have anyone to compete with. And you can tell that in the episode is she didn't back down on her equity amount because she was the last one standing. And we wanted her, I wanted her, she wanted us, and it was kind of a mutual like agreement.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You do a deal. How does the deal, because you see it on TV. I've worked at places where we've had outside investment, private equity firms, venture capitalists, things like this. And I know these deals don't happen in 45 minutes, right? Like there's a lot that happens. So what happens off screen to get that deal actually across the finish line?
At East Idaho Credit Union, we offer startup loans for emerging businesses to help support you in the early stages of growth. This could be for inventory, equipment, or other operating expenses. Almost all businesses qualify. Get started today by visiting us at eastidahocu.org/start, federally insured by the NCUA.
So what happens off screen to get that deal actually across the finish line?
People think you get the money immediately. That's definitely not the case.
Yeah,
of course not. There's a huge due diligence process. Mm-hmm. So I think that sometimes entrepreneurs go in the tank and might feel pressured to say a certain amount of numbers, or, you know, it's just in the moment. So they have to do this due diligence to see, did you embellish numbers? Did you lie?
How much did you lie?
Right. And we knew that we had nothing like we said all the truth. So her team came into our room and they're like, hey, we'd like to move this forward. We're gonna like basically do a massive audit on your old company.
So do they do that like like the same day you're there? Like
No,
or they come out later?
Yeah, they contact you like a week later and they're like, give us all this information. We're gonna like do some due diligence. And what you don't see is most of the deals don't end up going through.
I've heard that. Yeah. So they'll do a deal on the show and then they'll do their due diligence and they're like, nah, never mind.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the times they like back out, either parties back out for whatever reason. But we told Barbara Corcoran's team when they came into our room that day, we said, we are 100% in. We love Barbara Corcoran. We're ready to close this deal, whatever it takes. Yeah. And I think that set us apart. And so our deal actually closed in January of this year. So it's been a while. We filmed in September, got the deal in September, and then it closed in January. And Barbara Corcoran sent us an email as soon as it closed, and she said, congratulations, I can't wait to celebrate this partnership in New York City. And we flew out to New York City for 6 days.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we went to her place, went to her house.
What? That's so cool.
And we basically partied for 6 days with her and her team. Yeah. I'm not even kidding.
Why do they not talk about that on Shark Tank?
No, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
What does a party with Barbara Corcoran
Yeah,
look like?
for 6 days.
Well, so it was
6-day
considered
bender?
like a
That's crazy.
It was considered like a summit in a way. So she was teaching
like
us
a
some
bunch of
things.
people.
Well, there wasn't a bunch of people. It was considered her all-star entrepreneur summit. So she had 4 other companies there, but they were like her best performing companies. And me and Kate felt like totally out of the place. Like these are like $50 to $100 million companies. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Like we just make ice
I
cream.
know. I know, right? I'm like, we just made a deal. Like. Anyways, like half the time it was literally partying. Like she rented a party bus. It was called this chicken bus in New York City, and we got on this party bus and it went around all New York City and it was like loud and they were partying. It was so fun. Like I have these videos of Barbara Corcoran just like dancing.
Gosh.
That's amazing.
And she like one thing about Barbara is she is all about fun. She
Yeah.
loves fun. She would tell us stories of like when her company was about to go bankrupt and she saw the morale of the employees was low. So she went to Victoria's Secret and bought them all panties, like just for fun. And
What kind of company was this?
I know, right? And it's just like so wild.
It's like all these men, like
Right, I know.
Right,
Exactly.
I guess this is fun. I don't know.
Exactly. But they had so much fun with her, and it was different. And even though her company was about to go bankrupt, she lifted the morale of the employees, and then all of a sudden her company was saved. So she is all about fun, and she's just a fun person. I mean, if you follow her on TikTok, you'll see it. But yeah, she's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so you're partying for 6 days. It's a pretty good flex, by the way. I like
Seriously.
that. So what do you feel like you learned while you were there? Like, what did she go over and talk to you guys about?
One thing that stood out to us that we've been focusing on at headquarters is slow growth. So we see a lot of brands that just like blow up to 300 units in a couple of years or 600 units. Some have done it very successfully, some have not, and it's like kicked them in the butt. And she is all about like, there's no rush in business. Like, just like do things right, and then you'll end up winning down the road. And so we are growing slow. We're not signing on 100 people. We have 100 people we could sign on, but we're not. We're very, very like picky in that regard. Slow growth and stretching a dollar. So when she says this, like, if you have $50,000 in the bank, what are you going to spend that on? Like, how can you stretch that as far as you can? And so,
What are the tips around that? So how would I stretch the dollar?
never rushing to purchase anything, never over purchasing on inventory, overpaying, over hiring. Those are things that can like tank a business. So at headquarters, we have about 5 people that are like full time, and all of them are overwhelmed, and like they have so much work, and it takes a lot for us to be like, okay, we need to hire one more person.
Yeah, it's almost intentional to be like, we know there's a little too much for us to do. Yeah.
And so we are slow in that regard. We don't just like, okay, we need this person, hire them on, and then like, let's go. Because then all of a sudden you run out of money, and then you're like, you know.
I worked at this company years ago where we got a bunch of venture capital money, you know, couple $100 million. Like, and we were like, hey, it's party time, right? And we hired a lot. And ultimately, we were a victim of our own growth, you know, kind of in the way that you're talking about here. And we got over our skis, and then we were like, oh, we're running out of this money. And we ended up having to lay people off, and it was not a pretty thing. And since then, I've just realized that, you know, these are real people with real lives, and it's not fair to them to be irresponsible with the money and to put them in a position where it's like, well, we got to lay people off, and sorry, it's you. Like, it's just a little unfair to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I feel like this is a good moment. Oh, I totally forgot to ask. So tell us about your product a little bit. Like, what did Barbara get into here?
Specifically the product?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we make these cinnamon sugar dough cones. We make this dough fresh every day.
It looks incredible.
Yes,
I've never had it,
you
but
need
I've
to go.
seen it.
I've
I
had
know.
it. It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Let's go this afternoon.
Can we?
Yeah. Let's
That's gonna
go.
be amazing.
Yeah, I want to.
So it's these dough cones that we grill. It's not fried. Barbara and Lori loved the fact that it wasn't fried. It's baked basically, and then we put cinnamon sugar over it or a specialty flavor over it, like cookie powder or Biscoff powder. This month it's coconut cone. So
Oh, Biscoff. I love a little Biscoff. Look at Andrea. I've never seen her make that face before.
I'm
Yeah.
really excited. We have to go.
and then we fill it with a specialty ice cream that we have that week. So it's gourmet soft serve ice cream. It's Kate and I traveled the country. We work with a company. It's our proprietary mix, proprietary soft serve, and it's amazing. It's awesome. So
All right, I'm sold. Let's do it.
So
Yeah,
good.
that sounds awesome.
Lori Grenier on the set, she thought it was a fried donut.
Oh,
And we're like, it's actually not fried. And she's like, it's not fried. And she was like this close to being in. Like, they don't show that, but she was like very, very
interesting.
interested. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It seems like they would have left something like that in.
I know.
Like just to build some
Yeah.
tension and competition
Yeah,
there.
but you've got 3 hours of footage. You've got to cut down to 12 minutes.
I know it's hard. I know that's real hard to do. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so what else going back to your 6-day party
Yeah.
with Barbara, what other kinds of things did she talk about and talk to you guys about?
Stretching the dollar was huge. And then she also emphasized the importance of people. And she said, I obviously love a product when I invest in that product, but more importantly, I'm looking at the character of people who's running that company. And she's like, if they have some sort of attitude or if there's some sort of baggage they're showing or
And that's why you got a deal, man. Right?
I don't know, I guess
Yeah,
maybe.
of course it is.
I mean, we were excited, we were fun, we were motivated, we were happy. And she loves optimistic people,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And she's 74. She's lived through some terrible times in the US. Like she talks about these times where interest rates were at 18%, you know, and no one was buying in New York City, but somehow she sold $1 million worth of units, and, you know, and so she knows how to like get through tough times. And so she really emphasized like when we grow our company, invest in people, not necessarily the product. And so when we hire, we really look for characters. We look for people who are fun, optimistic, who don't. And she hates complainers. She'll fire them so fast. Like if they're in the room and they're complaining, you're gone. You'll never see Barbara Corcoran again. Yeah.
I can identify with that. Yeah.
She calls complainers thieves because they steal like optimism and time and excitement from the workplace.
You know, there's something about like that, just like razor sharp focus on that's really, really important and valuable. It's true. Anybody who's worked at a place with someone who complains, it's not fun, right?
The energy like leaves
it
the room.
It just sucks it all out of the room, and it's just not good at all. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, that's a pretty interesting one. Well, and she's lived enough to have like that much tolerance for it, right? Like just none. Yeah, and I think it's easier when we're younger to be like, well, they're a good person, but you know, they just have a hard time.
And she's very in the moment. I'll tell you this: we were at a table like this, and she was standing at the edge of the table, and she was kind of telling some stories and was giving us ideas. And I lean over to Kate to whisper to Kate, and I'm like, hey, like this is a good idea we could do in our company, because she just said it, I was like, write this down. And Barbara's like, excuse me. And I'm like, oh shit. Like my heart just dropped. She's like, I'm talking right now.
Uh-huh.
You can write, I'm talking. And then she's like, I hope you don't get offended. I hope you can take me calling you out in front of everyone. And I was like, I can take it, but I've never recovered since then. I'm like, shoot, Barbara Corcoran got mad at me. Like, but I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, you gave us a good idea. I was telling Kate to write it down. She's like, no, it's okay. Like, just don't talk while I'm talking.
Just never let it happen again.
Just never let it happen again. I was like, okay. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's gotta be terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Barbara Corcoran gets mad at you and tells you basically to shut up.
Okay, so the time since the party and the deal's done, how involved is she? Or her team?
Yeah, involved as you want them to be.
Really?
So they're not controlling at all. They're not like, this is what you need to do it now, or do it, you know. They own equity, so like she's a partner.
Right.
But we meet with her team once a month. If we wanted to meet with her specifically, we can. We have her phone number, we have her email. You can just call her up and say, Barb, we need help with this. She'll sometimes email us, catch up with us. But mainly she has 4 team members that are over her portfolio companies, and they talk with us weekly. I just was texting them a few hours ago.
So do you guys have like board meetings where like they represent her, or how does that work?
I don't know if it's board meetings, but it's just like
Maybe less
video
formal
calls.
than that.
Yeah, it's a little less formal than that. They do represent her. So she has one guy that represents her, that takes care of all the portfolio companies, like small things that they need, you know, that she doesn't have time to like help them with. And then she has social media marketers there to assist us if we need help with social media and things like that. But we had some issues with suppliers. I mean, we lost like $12,000 in a company that had promised a value to us, and they didn't give that value at all. So we got Barbara Corcoran's team involved. They help us get out of it, and that was an issue, and they help us. So, like, I have a meeting tomorrow with them again and our attorney, and we're discussing phantom equity and stuff, and to give phantom equity possibly to employees, and so they are involved as much as you want them to be involved.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it ever fun to be like a supplier or something, to like not pulling through for you and be like, well, I guess I'll just call Barbara and we'll just see what she has to say about it? Like, is it fun to play that card?
It's really fun to use that, you know, as leverage. And I'll just be straight honest, like, she's a partner. So she's an owner of this company. And so when we're working with suppliers, we're like, listen, would Barbara Corcoran be okay with this? Are you treating us fairly? Because Barbara Corcoran's really not going to like this if you don't treat us fairly. And I'm serious. I'll be honest with them, because I'm not lying, you know, like we will go to Barbara Corcoran and her team and be like, this supplier screwed us over, this supplier didn't. And we'll be honest, and they'll remember that supplier for the rest of their lives and make sure that their portfolio companies never use that supplier. And so it's helped us a lot.
There's a lesson. It's just not worth it to screw somebody over.
No, it's not.
It always comes back to bite you.
It always comes back to bite you.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that. Even though I don't have any kind of relationship with her, I am going to be like, well, guess we'll ask Barbara about this, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
She's awesome.
Does she come up with like little nicknames for you or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, when we were in New York City, it was actually my birthday when we were having dinner at her beautiful condo in New York City, by the way. It's like so expensive, but
do you ever start conversations with like, I was having dinner with Barbara in her beautiful condo?
No, this is the first time actually on the podcast. But it was my birthday that day, and I did not want to make it about me. So I was like, Kate, do not tell him like it's my birthday. Like, this is like to be with Barbara and hang out with Barbara. And Kate told Barbara that it was my birthday, secretly behind or whatever. Anyway, so I'll back up a little bit, but we had told them at dinner that Kate was pregnant. Mm-hmm. Kate was kind of showing and stuff, and Barbara was like, you should have said that on the set, like probably would have gotten more offers, like people probably would have been more invested because they felt bad, you know, because there's a baby there or something. But anyway, when I told them that, she was like, how are you 15 and you got her pregnant? And I was like, what? She's like, you look like you're 15 years old. So for the rest of the time in New York City, she called me this 15-year-old boy.
Nice.
And I was like, whatever, I'll take it.
Nice. Yeah.
But anyway, that day was my birthday, and it was like like another out of body experience, but they all sang happy birthday to me in her house. And it was just like this, like Barbara Corcoran is singing happy birthday to me in her house. Like the blessing, the odds, like, I don't know how it worked out that way, but.
Do you ever feel like I don't deserve this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Kate talked about it actually at our watch party at our headquarters. She's like, we feel like we don't deserve this, but we've worked so hard that we do deserve this. And that's the first time I've ever heard her say that. And it kind of has hit me, like, we have worked so hard, like so many hours every day to build this company, to convince Barbara Corcoran to invest in us. Like, it is a lot of work, you know, and we do deserve it in a way. And we have to like kind of pat ourselves on the back. Like, we've worked our butts off for so long to get here. But
so on that note, let's go back in time just a little bit here. How did you start this thing? Like, bring me back to the origin story.
yeah, $200 I was going to BYU, Idaho at the time. I knew this product would do well in America. It's from the Czech Republic, where I served my mission. And I just needed to change a few things, Americanize it, whatever.
So what does the Czech version of it look like? What's different about that?
It's similar. It just, some of them don't have ice cream in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they cook them over coal. We can't do that here because in a storefront, can't do coal. Anyway, so I just had a tent. So I started it out of a tent on the side of the road. And I would go to school in the day, and then I'd go to my aunt's kitchen at night and figure out the recipe and perfect it. And then I opened up in a tent because that's all the money I had. And we just sold hot cones. We still have this on our menu. It's like our OG product. It's just like the hot cone with like spread on the inside and fresh fruits and whipped cream. That's it. And we did very well. I was open for only 3 months. That summer. It was seasonal. And then I flew back to the Czech Republic. I perfected the recipe. I worked with them. I was like, hey, I'm bringing this back to the US. They were so excited. They're like, oh, this is like how you do it, whatever. And so I brought it back. We moved those profits into a trailer I designed in China, and for $14,000 pre-COVID, and got that trailer over. Then we introduced gourmet soft serve ice cream. We figured out ice cream. And then from there, we kept reinvesting, and then went into a storefront in Logan, Utah when we had an opportunity, and then a storefront in Rexburg. And then now we're franchising, and I've sold 13 franchises so far.
Wow.
Unreal.
7 more next month too.
That's so crazy. That's incredible. Okay, so that's a lot of history in like a really short amount of time.
Sorry.
No, that's
Take me
good.
back, though.
Yeah, it's good. What do you feel like were the biggest struggles that you went through as you built that?
I was so poor. Like, I had no money. So I was putting all the money into this business. I was like doing Instacart and Lyft and Uber, and then pushing that money into the business. And so I honestly think that I have a one up on our competitors a little bit, because they might have started from money from their parents, or like given to them, or they raised $100 million or something, or $10 million into their company. There was no raising any money at the start of this company.
It
was
was
just
your Uber money that did it.
Yeah. And so it was extremely, extremely hard. A couple years later, my parents did say, hey, we'll give you $14,000 as a loan to help you out. And that absolutely helped.
Was that the trailer? Was that what that was? Yeah.
Yeah. Paid that off. So that was very helpful. Super thankful for that. But really, like, when I talked about stretching the dollar earlier, like, I had to stretch every single penny. In fact, this year is the first year that the business is paying me and Kate a salary.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're what?
And it's been
5 years in? Oh,
yeah, 5 years in.
goodness.
So I've been living off of like scraps. I'm serious, for the past 5 years. And then when we got married, Kate was is still a professional photographer, videographer. We were doing weddings together. So the business was running, and then me and her would do weddings together. And that's what we lived off of for years.
Wow.
And this is the first year where we like have a consistent salary with the company after 5 years. So it kind of gives a one up, because like I had to work so freaking hard to get it off the ground. Whereas like a lot of companies go out and immediately raise money, and they get money, and they don't value the dollar as much as I value the dollar. Like, if you put $1 down and be like, no, I'm just kidding. Because I just know,
beat all of us to that dollar on the table. Yeah.
I know what $1 can do and how far it can go. So,
man, that's good advice.
That really is.
One of the things I've heard people talk about while doing this podcast is like they've talked about that struggle that you're describing, and they talk about what it does to them. And then they frequently will be like, I wouldn't give it away for anything, right? Like that changed me in ways that were really, really meaningful. What do you feel like? So obviously you learned the value of the dollar. What did it do to you?
I think it made me more grateful for what I have. You know, a lot of people are very excited about material things. We see it all the time. When you drive to Island Park, you see like $600,000 worth of like cargo going up there,
Right.
and like these like like 4-wheelers and stuff.
Yeah.
It really made me grateful for the money I earned and grateful for the money that I have. Even though it wasn't a lot at the time, I was so happy with where I was at in life because I just found happiness and was grateful for what I had at that time. And I tell people this all the time. I was speaking at a conference in Salt Lake City a couple weeks ago, and they asked me the question, what's the best thing that's come out of this company so far? And I immediately was like, my wife, Kate. And I told them this story, like, second year in business, Kate came to the trailer as a customer. Well, we actually invited her out to like post about it on her story. And then the next year she came out as a customer and she was posting about it. And I was like, dang, this girl does really good with photos and videos and stuff. So I contacted, yeah, right.
It, yeah.
And so I contacted her. I was like, hey, like take over our social media. I'll give you free ice cream. Again, I didn't have money to pay her, right? I convinced her in free ice cream. And she did. She's like, yeah, I'll take that opportunity on. As soon as she came on, we quadrupled our sales that year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Just because of the additional social media presence. Yeah.
And then we started to date, and then we got married in 2020 during COVID. And she's been like the biggest blessing ever that's come out of the company. I told this hundreds of people at this conference. I was like, we could go bankrupt tomorrow, and I'd be sad, but the best thing that's come out of this company is not the money, not even the experience. It's my wife. And like, she has brought so much value to the company, first of all. And she's like the best partner, and I wouldn't have met her any other way through it, you know?
That's such a cool story.
That is.
Yeah. And we told that story in the tank, and Mark Cuban was like, you slid into her DMs and look where, and then they didn't show this part. They cut it. And I was so excited for them to show this. But I told the Sharks, I was like, I married my employee, you know, because I knew that'd be good TV.
Yeah, sure.
And I wanted their reactions. And Kevin O'Leary like sits up in his chair and he's like, you should be in jail right now. and I was like, well, I probably should be, I guess. HR is on my butt. But yeah, like, I mean, just gratitude, being grateful for what you have at the time. And then for me personally, our story, the best thing that's come out of this company is our relationship and who we are as a family. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, we got married. I had a percentage ownership in the company. And then after we went on Shark Tank, Barbara Corcoran was like, what percentage does Caitlin have? And she's very pro women, and she's very like, take care of the women in business, you know? And I was like, oh, we never even thought of like actually splitting equity. We just thought like, if you're married to me, you own that equity.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
own it together. Yeah.
But she's like, anything can happen. She's helped build this company. If I'm signing this deal, she's getting half of your
Interesting.
percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I was
really
like,
cool.
I totally agree. Like, let's put it on paper. And so Kate owns half of my ownership. And
That's cool.
That's really cool.
yeah.
Man, what a great story. Yeah, not many people can say we could go bankrupt and it still would have been worth it,
Yeah.
you know?
I know. And
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I'd be very sad. It'd be sad. But like, I'd go home to the best thing that's ever happened to me. And that was my wife. And so too bad she can't be here today. She's taking care of the baby. But yeah, she's absolutely incredible. And Barbara fell in love with her, I think, first in the tank. And so she might be the reason we got a deal. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
No.
I love that.
What advice would you give to people who are starting out? They don't have the funds, whatever. What advice would you give them?
You know, when you begin your entrepreneurship journey, it is incredibly lonely, and it's just you and your idea. That's what it begins with, is you and your idea, and you've got to build on that foundation. And so it's incredibly lonely. Like, you'll hear opinions on social media like, oh, this is stupid. Or even family members will be like, are you sure you don't want to like do something different? And all these different things. But learning to be okay to be alone, and that you and your idea could be the biggest thing that's ever happened. And so for me, when I first started, it was so lonely. I would go to my apartment at BYU, Idaho, and I would just cry about it. I would just be like, this sucks, like I'm the only one that really believes in this product right now. And that's what it started with. But I pushed through that loneliness and I figured it out. I worked hard. I stretched that dollar. And I kept going. I took every day by day, and you will have terrible days, like absolutely terrible days. But I promise, just go to sleep and you'll feel better in the morning. And I still have to tell myself that when I have a really bad day, just go to sleep. You'll feel better in the morning. And I do every time. And so being okay to be alone, your idea and you will be alone in the beginning, and just day by day, pushing forward, working your butt off. And if you have a bad day, go to sleep. It'll be better in the morning.
Great advice. What was the most discouraging thing? Like, describe one of those days where you were like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here?
I still have those days, I still have those days a lot. Like, whether it's before when we were in the trailer and for 5 hours straight, they were handing out a terrible product to hundreds of people. Like, that killed me. Like, I went there, I saw the product, the ice cream was bad, the cone was bad. I was like, what is going on? Like, no one's ever going to come back again. I was like, we're shutting this place down. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. We retrained. We figured it out. People kept coming, So we figured it out. So it's either that time period, or when I think of like, people think like, oh, you like reached the mountain after Shark Tank. Like, you did it. Like, you got to deal with Barbara Corcoran. But as soon as like things started to mellow out, even Tristan Ikaika texted me and he's like, you're going to feel worthless after, because you're like, so you're on this energy and this high. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're in your office and you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah,
right. But we were in our office and we're like going online, and we went on, we were seeing what articles were coming about. And it was just like articles like CNBC was posting about us, and like ABC and all these opinionated like blogs. We go on Reddit, the dark web. But we were curious what people were talking about. There's like this cult following on Shark Tank where people will like literally dissect every single thing.
Interesting.
We go on there. There was posts about me and Kate that were the nastiest posts, like just like terrible. Like, they're gonna get divorced. I doubt that our deal even went through. Like, that was one of the worst pitches we've seen in the season. Like, and just like nasty stuff. And then you go on like East Idaho News posts about us, right? Mm-hmm. And people don't think that the owners see comments. The owners see comments. So we were like, oh, cool, East Idaho News posted about us. You go to the comments, and people are like, oh, this was like the worst product I've ever had. Like, I hate this product. Oh, it was like too expensive. But then and it's so hard not to comment and be like, I'm sorry you feel that way. And I just want them to click my bio and be like, oh, that's the owner. But you have to focus on like the good comments too. Like, there were far more good comments and positive things about us than not. But it's so hard not to focus on that negative stuff, And even at the beginning, like, people would be like, this sucks. I'd be like, it sucks right now, but I'm improving it. I promise, and we are, and we're constantly improving it. And so that negative wave is really hard to take on. And I'm still struggling with it. But
I love that comment though. It sucks right now, but we're improving on it. Because like every great business iterates and reiterates, and that's the actual magic. It's not because like they nailed it the first go around, right? They never nail it the first go around. It's the businesses that really go somewhere are the ones that are like agile and are willing to reiterate and willing to be like, yeah, I know it sucks, but we're changing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
like,
don't have money to change it right now, but I will. Maybe buy my product and I'll have some more money. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a super valuable and important skill, and it's one that's really difficult to master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So.
Okay. So this is such an interesting story. So now you're sitting here today. What's next?
So we've sold 13 franchises. Yeah. Those franchises are in territory groups, so they're opening up in phases. So the first phase of franchises open up this summer, 3 of them. So we'll have one in Provo, one in Chandler, Arizona, and one in Tempe, Arizona. And then the next phase will open in the fall, 5 more. I believe Orlando, Boise, Draper, Lehigh. So now it's just, we've sold 13 stores. So now it's creating this foundation and this support to support them and make sure they're super successful. we have met a lot of franchisors in the industry who get franchising and just kind of like let them go and figure it out. And that is a recipe for disaster. So we're trying to build the support system that's so strong that they can rely on us for literally everything. So that's what's next is we have a headquarter building. We have corporate employees, and we're just building systems. We're investing in systems. We're investing in technology to basically create the support system like no other.
I love that.
So
what is the transition from being like an ice cream or a restaurant business to a franchise business? Because that's really different.
it is so different.
So what does that transition look like?
It's like starting a new business all over again. Yeah. And this is the first year that I'm in it. So we're learning it. And it's crazy because like you go to Google and it's like, how do I be a franchisor? There's no documents out there. There's no blogs. There's no books. There's like no dummy for franchisors, right? And you have to figure it out. And this is what bothers me is in the industry of franchisors and franchising, the franchisor is extremely, extremely exclusive, and they do not like to share their secrets. And so if you were to go to a franchisor and be like, hey, mentor us, they'll be like, no, figure it out, you know? And there's not very many of them, right? And so you have to literally figure it out. And so we hope to one day like grow, be an example, and then like share our secrets and be like, this is how we franchised. This is how we did it successfully, you know? And luckily, Barbara has a portfolio company called Cousins Maine Lobster. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They have about 70 units. And I was just on the phone with him last night, the founder, and I was like, what do you guys do for this and this and this? And he's like, oh, this is what we do. So it's like me and him are the only ones that are like sharing each other's secrets and helping each other out. He's like gracious enough to help us. Because we're the same, run the same portfolio company as Barbara Corcoran. And so just like, I'm probably going way off here, but just creating the support group with the franchisees and becoming a franchise company and figuring it out and investing a lot in technology to support them all. So,
you know, you bring up such an interesting topic of like having peers help you. Right? Like you're trying to learn how to franchise and do all of that. And you seem like you're really interested in making sure that you send the elevator back down and you help people that are going through the same thing. Why do you feel that way? What is it that's in you that says, you know, I didn't get this, but I'm going to give it to other people?
Yeah. I think it's looking at the perspective that what is our purpose here in life? Is it to literally fight tooth and nail over $1? That's so ridiculous. It's fun to be competitive over $1, sure, right? And it gets you going and up in the morning, sure. But is that like our purpose? I don't know if it is. I don't believe it is. Our purpose, in my opinion, is to create a circle of relationships and creating a circle of people who care for each other, who love each other, who support each other, and who move forward together and progress forward. And at the beginning, I was probably a lot more immature than I am now. I'm still considered immature, right? I still consider myself.
Like 15, I heard.
Yeah, 15, according to Barbara Corcoran.
No,
But-
he had a birthday, 16.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 16 now. But I was so competitive, and I was like, I've got to fight tooth and nail, like bring him down. Like, it's fun. It's a game, though. We have to remember it's a game of winning and losing, and it's okay to do either one, right? But our purpose is to help one another. And that's where I find pure joy. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, like I said, and I was teaching people all these secrets that took me like 5 years to learn, right? And then Tristan Ikaika was at this conference too, and he was teaching his secrets that took him 7 years to learn. But it was so joyful to share information and to help each other, you know? Instead of having someone like ruin their life to figure out how you figured it out, help them succeed. And that's where real joy for me comes out. I'll share this one story. We were meeting with Barbara. It was a one-on-one. She was sitting here, Kate was sitting here, and then her right-hand guy was sitting across the table. And she was like, tell me, Jeremy, like, what do you want out of life? And I'm thinking in my head, she's like 74, right? She's done it all. And what answer does she want? And that really got me thinking, what do we want out of life? Like, what's the end goal? And Kate was like, oh, like we want to open up 100 stores. We want to be across the nation, you know? And she cuts off Kate and she's like, that's ego. And we were like, oh, crap. But then it got me really thinking, and I was like, we just want to serve people. Like, we want to help people. We want to like invest in charities. We want to do humanitarian work, and we want to go on missions for our church. And she knew we were members of the Church, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And she's like, and she knew John Huntsman Sr. She knows like Bill Marriott. And she was like, people who always have that motive in life somehow always get richer than me. And it got us laughing. And she's like, it's like money just shows up in their bank account and it ticks me off. And she was joking, but her point was like, where's your heart at? Is it really all about money? No. But when you end up serving people and helping people, things just work out, and they do. And like the first year we were in business out of a tent, our grand opening day, we committed to give all of our net profits to charity.
Wow.
That next day. The Family Crisis Center that assists women and children that have been in bad situations. And we did. And the next day I went over there with a check. I think it was like $800 and gave them $800. And I really believe that first time that I was ever in business, it taught me to just like help other people, give. And now look at us. And I don't want to brag and be egotistical, but like we've gone pretty far and we've done pretty well for ourselves. And we're on track to do multi-million dollars over a couple months. And so just like we've always focused on helping other people though. And somehow, I don't know what it is, somehow it always works out in your favor when you help other people. And Barbara's on that same page. And so I don't know how I got on this.
No, it's great. Yeah. Well, I think it's super important because a lot of businesses, well, not a fair amount of businesses exist for maybe the wrong reasons, to make money, right? And certainly that's a scorecard of the game, right? You have to make money. But man, that's so interesting. It's like your first day where you were running the thing on your Uber money. You decided to give all your proceeds away. And what that says is, your business exists for a purpose greater than ice cream, greater than making money. It exists to build people up, right? To help people, which is really incredible. Those are the businesses, for whatever reason, that do really, really well. I have an opinion, a theory. I think those businesses do really well because people know that. They know that you're about more than just taking their money from them, that you're about helping your community and helping the people around you and lifting the world. And people want to do business with people that have like a greater calling than just, we want to make a few bucks. And if you're in it just to make money, you'd get bored with it pretty quick, honestly.
Well, there's an endless amount of money out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like the government just printed $3 trillion in 20. Like
now we're really getting an interesting
right,
topic.
If we're really chasing money, you're going to be chasing for it till the day you die. Yeah. And so like, what is your purpose? Why are you here? Sure, if you want to get wealthy, that's fine. That's great. I would love to be at that point. I'd love to grow a multi-million-dollar company. We are currently, but what's our purpose? Like, what is the end game? Like, who are we? What's the what's our story, And so figuring that out and knowing what we want to do with our lives, build a family, go on humanitarian missions, help other people out, travel the world. That's who we are. That's our purpose. And it's not Cone's ice cream franchising. Sure, like those are fun. It's a game. It's competitive. I love the product. I love the business. But I will be chasing till I'm 90 years old if I'm trying to get more and more money. There's just an endless amount. So
you'll never be satisfied.
You'll never be satisfied.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Bailey, you were going to say something.
Oh, I'm just thinking about how I want to buy an ice cream cone every day from your business now. I don't need it, but I'm like, I want to support this.
That's kind of...
It's true, though. That's the type of response that having a greater purpose elicits from people around you. Yeah. Incredible.
What other advice do you have? You have really good advice. I'm like, tell us more.
I don't. I'm still so young and I'm still learning so much. I mean, I'm currently reading Barbara Corcoran's book. Sure. Highly recommend. It's a phenomenal book. And I was reading in it and there was a story she told me, the story she shared in the book, how her business partner, which was her boyfriend at the time, ended up cheating on her with her secretary. And completely embarrassing. Everyone in the company knew about it, right? And one day he walks into the house and he's like, I'm marrying so-and-so. Forgot the name. And she's like, excuse me? Like, that's the secretary. That's our secretary. And that was like extremely disheartening for her, right? Well, the next day she goes into the office and she trips and her books go everywhere. Her high heels are off, trips right in front of everyone. And the person that comes up and is like, oh, like, do you need help? Is the girl that he's been cheating with. And it was completely embarrassing for her. She felt like the dust of the earth. And then she goes into her ex-boyfriend's office. She says, I'm leaving. We got to split the company up. And he walks out and he says, you'll never be successful without me. And she told, she told herself that she would rather die than see that happen. And so a couple of years go by, she builds her own company, Barbara Corcoran Group, and puts him out of business actually. And ends up selling it years later for $66 million. And so I look at people like that. So when you ask, like, what advice do you give me? Studying other people's stories and their wins and how they slayed their dragons, right? Like in that moment, Barbara Corcoran slayed that freaking dragon. And it was hard, and she was alone, and she was embarrassed, and she felt like the dust of the earth. And I mean, at that time, it was a different time in America. If you got cheated on as a woman, you were kind of looked down upon, like it was your fault if you were that woman, you know? Things have good, like changed, which is good a little bit. Like they don't necessarily look at the woman if that woman was cheated on, but at that time they did. And I think it was incredibly embarrassing. And she slayed that freaking dragon, and she ended up selling her company for $66 million, and she did amazing at it. And there's nothing to be like, she later got married, is happily married, has a family. Like, she's the winner here. Like, he missed out on her, you know? And so reading other people's incredible stories, learning from them, and knowing that like your story is your own personal legend and your own personal story, but then studying other people's stories, you'll know you're not alone. Like I told you, I would feel completely alone at the beginning of my business. Every entrepreneur knows what that feels like. If you're a true entrepreneur, you've built a company, you know what it feels like to be alone. And so you're not alone necessarily when you study other people's stories and what happened to them. And I love reading her book because it's like, oh my gosh, I relate to like so many things that she's sharing here. Like she almost went bankrupt 3 times. She called her mom crying, and her mom's like, don't worry about money. Like money will fix itself later. And she ended up figuring it out, getting creative and getting out of it, you know? So studying other people's wins and failures.
I feel like entrepreneurs need like a support group.
I know. They need some serious therapy.
So in the moments of loneliness, you talk about fighting through it. How in the world do you do it? Like, how does one fight through that loneliness?
At East Idaho Credit Union, we're changing the future of business with our Velocity Money Market account. You can receive unbeatable returns on tiered interest rates. We have rates up to 2.02% annual percentage yield. East Idaho Credit Union puts local businesses first because when you do better, we all do better. Federally insured by the NCUA.
You talk about fighting through it. How in the world do you do it? Like, how does one fight through that loneliness?
A lot of meditation and prayer. Because you'll realize that when you do feel lonely and you really focus on it and you really try to fix it, you'll find out that you're not actually lonely. That someone is there. In my opinion, God. God is really important in my life and building my business. But prayer is what led me to not feel that way and get out of it and fight through it and keep going. I would be like praying, meditating, and seeing like, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Like there's a million other occupations, a million other things to do in this world. Is this really what I'm supposed to do? And I would pray about it. I would meditate about it. I would ponder about it. And in my loneliest times and in my darkest hours, I would come out of it not lonely anymore. And I would have someone there. And it was God for me. And he was there for me. And I'll always say that. I said that in the tank. I said I was not afraid to say that in front of these billionaires. Still not afraid to say that. Like, God is what pushed me through and has pushed me out of those lonely and darkest hours. And they got dark and very, very dark. And I don't want to get emotional, but in your darkest hour, if you lean on to whatever you believe in, whether that's energy or God or whatever you believe in, lean on to something through meditation or prayer, you will find yourself not lonely anymore. And that's how I got through it. That's how I continue to get through it. And I'll never be afraid to tell that. You know, we told that to them in the tank. Like I said, I mean, they cut that part so people don't really see that, but I was very open to Mark Cuban about going on a mission and being a faithful person to God. And
What do you say about that?
I thought it was cool. Yeah. I was very open about my mission, what we did there on the mission. I think they all know the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I think they really respect business owners from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's some very famous people like Bill Marriott and John Huntsman Sr. and who have made a really great reputation out of us. And so I think it's great. But finding that those darkest hours and in those loneliest times, if you lean onto something greater than you are, you'll realize that you're not actually that lonely. So
It's really good.
I guess I would end this with learning to have so much fun through the whole process. You know, you have good times, you have bad times, you have terrible times, you have fantastic times, but no one's taking the fun out of it but you. And so if you really are in this to win it, learn to have fun and make fun and laugh about it and joke about it, even during those hard times. There's no one stopping you from having fun. And so, I mean, we when we have enough cash, we're going to hire a fun expert at corporate who literally just plans fun stuff.
I think
to
it's
do.
a fungineer is what they call that.
Fungineer. Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure I put that as the job posting. Do you want to apply?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
get you fungineer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, yeah. Like I don't want entrepreneurs to feel like this grind culture of like grind, like work your butt off for so long. Sure, that's awesome. You got to work hard to win, but you cannot forget to have fun. And fun is what keeps you going, what makes life enjoyable. Like that's what life's about. It's not about grinding 24/7 for 365 days a year. Like have fun.
If you're miserable, what's really even the point?
Right. Yeah. And I'm not saying like you can't have bad days and it's going to be hard, because it is. You got to push through those, but you got to have fun too.
Yeah, totally agree. Awesome. I mean, what's left to say?
You have advice for me?
I would like you to come. I would like you to come back on the podcast. Let's talk again, because
That'd be
this
cool.
was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be really fun
Love
to
to.
do.
You
Yeah,
guys have a great thing going.
Yeah, a
Thank
year
you.
from now, let's see where you're at.
Great.
yeah, I would love
Yeah.
to.
Let's
I'd love
do
to
it.
talk again. Yeah.
And it's time for ice cream.
Yeah, it's totally time for ice cream.
Okay. What's the best flavor of ice cream?
Oh yeah, okay. So tell us, what should we, when we go later today, what should we be ordering?
So we have a rotating like menu of ice cream flavors every week. But the best flavor, we were just looking at the stats in our conference meeting on yesterday, and the best selling flavor we've ever done was huckleberry and cookie butter ice cream.
Andrew is a
Well, because
huckleberry
huckleberry's
fiend.
the best.
Oh, it's so good. And every time we launch it, people go nuts over it. They buy pints of it to stock it.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's so good.
That's probably what
I'm
Andrew will
curious
do.
when you're in Orlando, because you mentioned there's a franchise coming there.
Yeah.
Curious, are you going to have huckleberry across all of the franchises? Is that a local flavor? What are you going to do there? Because I'm curious to see how it would perform down in Florida,
Yeah,
where they don't think
yeah.
it's a real thing.
I know, right?
I'm from Texas, and when I came here, there's huckleberry everything, and I was like, "What is all that? What is a huckleberry even?"
And you can just go up into the mountains and pick them yourself.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We'll teach them what's good.
that's right.
So
Love it.
they'll all be on the same menu. So whether they love it or hate it, we'll teach them,
Interesting.
and they'll launch the same flavor we have.
I want to
Very
hear how
cool.
that goes in Orlando. Yeah.
We're trying to get at Disney Springs in Orlando.
Oh.
Be really
Yeah,
good.
we're like this close. Our franchisee was a former Disney employee, and so
Oh, that's awesome.
he's pulling the strings.
That's
That would
cool.
be
I think it
killer
would fit
spots.
so well there.
I agree.
Totally.
It's very
I
Disney,
totally agree.
right?
Yeah.
It would fit perfect. Yeah.
We need
Yeah,
to
it's a great
have
idea.
Barbara call Bob Iger and like put
Hey, there you
put in
go.
a-
Because Barbara gets what Barbara wants, Bob, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for being on with us today. This was so insightful and so interesting. And we definitely have to have you back on.
Great.
This is really, really cool. And thank you for joining us on the Dragon Slayer podcast by East Idaho Credit Union. We'll see you next time.
Woo! That was amazing.
Really good.